We have another Cleveland Moto badass bike on a budget. This is a bike you should know about. If you haven't had a chance to ride one of these, you should quickly get out and find one and take it for a spin. This is a bike that's not like most other BMWs, even though it wears the BMW badge. One of the things everyone knows about BMWs is historically they've used that boxer style motor. So when BMW hired Rotax to build a motor for them, and it turned out to be a vertical parallel twin, it kind of changed things for BMW. BMW purists had to change the way they thought about motorcycle engines, and a lot of people had to stop saying that boxer motors were the way to go. This parallel twin motor is 800 cc's, and why this motor works so well is it fires on what's called a 360-degree firing order. And what that means is every single time one of the pistons is at the very bottom of its stroke catching on its power pulse, the other one is at the very top. 360-degree firing order is going to give you a whole lot of torque on the motor, and what they've done is they've installed a counterbalancer in there that is actually another connecting rod that's moving around, and it's counteracting the mass of those other two pistons. This bike is 800 cc's and it puts out 86 horsepower. And you'll know around here we get a little excited anytime somebody says, well, it's 1,000 cc's and it has 100 horsepower, or it's 500 cc's and it has 50 horsepower. There's that 100 horsepower per liter thing that we like, especially on bikes that have a high RPM capacity, on bikes that like to spin. Otherwise, we're always looking for torque. And about torque, well, 64 foot-pounds of torque, which is a very rewarding amount of torque to ride around on. My personal thing is around 40 foot-pounds of torque, I start to feel really good about the bike. If it's a lightweight bike, 40 pounds of torque will make it feel really enthusiastic to the old butt dyno. Now, this bike is only about 401 pounds dry. They call it 450 pounds soaking wet, all the fluids, battery, etc., which makes for a very lightweight sport tourer. And there aren't too many bikes that I think wear the badge sport tourer as well as this one does. Because when you get into bikes like the actual ST1100, Sport Tourer 1100, it's been out for ages, but it is porky. It's a big bike to anybody. When you're riding an ST1100, you know you're riding a heavy bike. It feels heavy beneath you. A talented rider can carve it through the mountains, sure, but it still feels like a heavy bike. This, on the other hand, feels like a very light bike, and it does. When you're riding it, it feels nimble, it feels small. BMW took a lot of stuff and really had fun with it on this. Rather than using a shaft drive like they would in many of their motorcycles, what they did is they went ahead and they went with a belt drive system. The belt drive system means no maintenance to the owner, and these belt drive systems on this bike were bulletproof, and they're very, very easy to service. Projected lifespan on these belts is well over 40,000 miles. So it's not the kind of thing that you're going to say, well, belt versus chain. Well, with the belt, you do get a very, very quiet operation. You don't get the chain slap or the chain lag. You get a one-to-one power delivery. It doesn't need any maintenance or adjustment. And when it is time to change that belt, it is much easier to change a belt than to change a chain. The seat height on this. So this bike could be ordered two ways. It could be ordered with a 33-inch seat height or a 30-inch seat height. This particular bike in front of you has the 33-inch seat height. The only change between the two was the actual link on the shock absorber. They had different shock absorber links and a different rear shock because this is a monoshock rear suspension setup. So you'd simply change that item out and that would give you the lower 30-inch stance. For people who have that shorter inseam, if you were built a little closer to the earth, you could have a 30-inch seat on this bike. Worked very, very well. The Rotax motor that's in here, this is one of those Austrian designs that was meant to go forever, and it really does. These bikes don't require a ton of maintenance. They do require a good 15,000, 20,000 mile interval for their valve adjustment, but the Rotax Twin, it's an excellent motor. It's been out long enough that you can say, this is something that's tried and true. Everybody loves it. People have put millions of miles on it. It's not at all a questionable motor. Cycle World rated this bike as a best value when looking at used motorcycles. And remember, when this bike came out, it was that price point between, $15,000 or so. Today, this particular bike in front of us, we're selling this bike at $5,700. And it's $5,700 because we think that's what it's worth. We'll probably take less. Just letting you know. But the bike gives you a ton of value for your money. It gives you built-in heated grips from the factory. So that 2 temperature setting heated grips, the BMW grips are notorious. They will run you out. The trip computer on this thing is fantastic. There's an info button on the left-hand button. When you hit that info button, it tells you your distance to empty. It tells you your current miles per gallon. It tells you what your miles per gallon has been over this trip. So it gives you quite a bit of, it also tells you your average speed. So it gives you quite a bit of information as you're riding along to help you project when or how far you can go on this tank of gas. About the gas, it holds about 4.2, 4.3 gallons of gas, and you're going to get between 55 and 60 miles per gallon. So do the math on that. You're going to be over 200 miles on a tank of gas on this bike. The riding position is excellent. You can add bar risers. This particular bike has bar risers on it, very mellow, about 2.5-inch bar risers. You can add bar risers to it. You can make the pegs lower. There's a whole catalog full of things for this motorcycle to help custom fit it to you. It's really neat in that BMW designed a bike with a very good weight distribution. You're going to notice the gas tank is back here. It's not right up here under your belly, because this up here is an air box. That's very common on a lot of sport bikes, to find the air box where the gas tank should be, and then having the gas tank more mass centralized. Keeping that weight, you know, when you say a pint's a pound the world around, you're going to be carrying around 35 pounds of fuel when this thing's full. So that 35 pounds isn't sitting up here on top, it's sitting down low in the middle. Makes the bike, again, very, very easy to ride. For people who did want a sport tour on this, they offer a litany of windshields. And the bike comes already equipped with the mounts for BMW's Genius expanding bags. These are bags that when they're in their closed position, they're sleek, they're streamlined, they match the line of the bike, but you can unhinge them and they open up and will swallow a full-faced helmet in each side. That's really worth spending some time on eBay and finding those bags if you did want to use this bike as a sport tourer with an emphasis on the tourer. I've ridden this bike to Toledo, I've ridden the bike to Cincinnati, I've ridden the bike to Columbus and Pittsburgh. I absolutely love the way this bike feels when it's underneath me. I love putting the speedometer at 85 to 90 miles per hour and just seamlessly running along. The bike really has no stress to it at all. Yet when you get off the freeway and you're in heavy traffic, this thing is perfect. It's a scalpel. It runs between the cars just really nicely. You think about it, it's telepathic. You think it turns. You think the other way, it turns. The brakes are all Brembos and they're ABS. So this is, you'll never need to put more than 2 fingers on that front brake lever. It will drag you down very impressively. So BMW did a hell of a job with this F800ST. If you're out there and you're in the market looking for motorcycles, this is a great one to look at. There's one thing about this bike that drives me crazy. It causes me stress every single time I drive it. And this is a period of time when BMW had their funky turn signals. And that means there's not one switch on the left hand where it's left, middle, right, or push to cancel. This has that BMW system, you find it on some Harleys too, where it's left turn signal on the left hand, right turn signal on the right hand, and then canceling the turn signals is done with another switch on the right hand. So left turn signal, right turn signal, another button entirely to cancel the turn signals, and pushing the button on the right again will activate your 4-way flashers. BMW overthought that one. I recently drove a BMW X5 and I can tell you when it comes to switchgear and ergonomic controls and interactions with the humans, BMW is always trying something and very rarely does it work out great. This particular bike is an example of that. That will take some getting used to, that push left, push right, go right. If you're a Harley-Davidson guy, you're probably going to slide right in there like it's no big deal. But on this bike, you will notice it and it will be a little bit weird for the first couple of times you ride it. This particular bike, 44,700 miles on it. Other people would say, it's getting to be a lot of miles. I don't think so. I ride this bike. It doesn't make any weird noises. It gives pure power all the time, and if you do your research and you look around, you'll find that guys that maintain these bikes are easy to get 120, 140,000 miles out of them. The motor was overbuilt. It was over-engineered for BMW, and boy, you can tell that when you ride it. It is a German-built motor. It's not one of the later Asian-built motors, so this motor is going to give you a really, really long lifespan. And look into that if you're considering getting this kind of a middle-weight BMW. Look at that point, that line in the sand where BMW went from manufacturing the motors in Europe to manufacturing the motors in Asia. Take a look at that, talk to some people that have owned bikes, and maybe kind of keep an ear for the longevity of things, differences between the German manufactured bikes and the Asian manufactured bikes. I haven't seen a lot of evidence around here. It seems as though their Asian built bikes are very good quality, but just as a buyer, be aware of that. Do some research and check it out. If you need to have this bike or you need to have more information about this bike, all you got to do is reach out and talk to us. Our phone number is 216-795-5580. We're called Cleveland Moto, and on our website we have a long inventory of bikes that we have for sale. We're going to have some close-ups, some zoom-ins, and all kinds of cool stuff so you can check the bike out. If you have any other questions, though, I want you to reach out to us as well. Send us an email. That's me, Phil, at clevelandmoto.com. You can click on the link below if you want to reach out to us and make a comment about this video, or maybe you've had one of these bikes and had some experiences with it you'd like to share with the people who watch. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to find out more about our badass bikes on budget. Thank you. Have a great day.